Right now, you believe you're in control. You decided to watch this video. You chose what you ate this morning. You picked the shirt you're wearing. Every decision today felt like yours. Neuroscientists disagree. In 2008, a team of researchers at the Max Planck Institute scanned people's brains while they made simple decisions. The subjects pressed a button whenever they felt like it, and reported the exact moment they decided to press it. The scientists already knew what the subjects would do. They knew because the brain data told them. Not after the decision, not during it, before it. Up to 10 seconds before the person felt the urge, the brain had already committed. 10 seconds you thought you had decided. Your brain had already moved on. This is not a philosophical question anymore. It's a measurement, and it changes everything about how we understand behavior, habit, and self-control. Let's go back to where this started. The year is 1983. A neuroscientist named Benjamin Libet is running an experiment that will bother philosophers for the next 4 decades. He places electrodes on people's scalps to measure electrical activity in the brain. He asks them to flex their wrist whenever they feel like it, and to watch a fast-moving clock and report the exact moment they decide to move. What he finds stops the field cold. Before the subjects feel the urge to move, there's already a spike in brain activity. He calls it the readiness potential. It shows up about 550 milliseconds before the conscious intention. Half a second. The brain is already running the motor command before the person knows they want to move. At the time, some people argued it was too small a gap to matter. Half a second, sure. But maybe consciousness was just slightly delayed in registering a decision that was already made consciously. Then John-Dylan Haynes got involved. Haynes and his team built on Libet's experiment. Instead of simple wrist movements, they used fMRI, which measures blood flow in the brain rather than surface electrical signals. They tracked not just when activity started, but where it started and what patterns were present. The gap grew from half a second to 10 seconds, and the location mattered. Activity in the prefrontal and parietal cortex, regions involved in planning and intention, was encoding the future decision. Long before the person reported any conscious awareness of choosing, the researchers could predict which button a person would press with 60% accuracy up to 10 seconds before the person decided to press it. 60% sounds modest until you realize chance is 50%. That gap, 10 percentage points above random, is your free will being predicted by a machine reading your brain. This tells us that what we call a decision is actually the endpoint of a process, not the beginning of one. Consciousness is not the driver. It's closer to the press release. The work happened upstream. You showed up to announce something your brain already finished. Now, here's where it gets personal. Think about your worst habits. The ones you've tried to stop and couldn't. Maybe it's reaching for your phone first thing in the morning. Eating something you told yourself you wouldn't. Procrastinating on something that matters. Every time you've tried to fight these habits with willpower, you were fighting the wrong battle. You were standing at the press release and trying to rewrite the whole report. The brain doesn't work on conscious intention alone. It works on patterns, environmental cues, and neural pathways built through repetition. When you walk into your kitchen and automatically open the fridge, that behavior was initiated by a neural sequence your prefrontal cortex didn't supervise. Your basal ganglia, the part of your brain responsible for habit execution, ran that program on autopilot. Willpower is a conscious tool. But most behavior isn't conscious. That's the mismatch. You keep sending a conscious solution to an unconscious problem. So what actually works? The answer isn't trying harder. The answer is working with the system instead of against it. Here's what the research actually supports. Your brain makes decisions based on what's available, what's familiar, and what's been rewarded before. If the path of least resistance leads to the behavior you don't want, your brain will take that path before you're awake enough to redirect it. If the path of least resistance leads somewhere useful, it'll go there instead. This is called environmental design, and it's more powerful than motivation. Put the phone in another room before you sleep. The decision about whether to check it in the morning is already made before you wake up. Your brain will run the Reach for Phone program only if the phone is there. Remove it, and you remove the trigger before consciousness has to get involved. The same applies to food, to exercise, to anything you're trying to change. The battle isn't fought in the moment of temptation. It's fought hours earlier. When you set up the environment your unconscious brain will operate in. There's one more piece of this that most people miss. Libet's original experiment included something important. Even though the readiness potential appeared 550 milliseconds before conscious intention, subjects could veto the movement until about 200 milliseconds before it occurred. They couldn't initiate the action consciously, but they could cancel it. This is called the veto window, and it might be the most honest description of free will we have. You may not be the author of your impulses, but you might be the editor. Your brain drafts the decision. You get a narrow window to kill it. Most of the time, you don't use that window because you don't know it exists. But people who build strong habits over time, whether it's through meditation, therapy, or deliberate behavioral training, are essentially practicing the veto. They're training themselves to catch the impulse in that gap and redirect it. That's not freedom from your brain. It's freedom within it. So what does all of this mean for how you live? Stop trying to be motivated. Motivation is a conscious experience of something your brain has already decided to care about or not. You can't manufacture it on demand. Start designing. Set up the conditions that naturally move your brain toward what you want. Reduce friction on good behaviors. Increase friction on bad ones. Make the right choice. The path your unconscious will take before your conscious mind shows up. And when you do catch yourself in that moment of impulse, the phone in your hand before you thought about it, the fridge door open before you decided to open it, that's not a failure of willpower. That's just your brain doing what brains do. The question is what you do over the next 200 milliseconds. That window is yours.